water. Without it, we would not have life. We must drink it for sustenance. We must feed it to the soil so that we can have food to eat. But sometimes the rain gods torment us with persistent drought or torrential floods, both of which leave us more poor and hungry than where we started. Water is the perfect metaphor for conceiving the financial flows in our complicated economy. You probably didn't see that one coming. Well, half a century ago, a British economist constructed a water machine to simulate how the economy works and how different policy mechanisms could affect the water flows, and as well as how other factors influence what might otherwise be a healthy water flow that nourishes all the irrigation ditches and wells in our economic infrastructure. Now, at first glance, this diagram, which all of you have in front of you, might seem rather complicated, but my goal today is to explain it in a way that I think makes sense by using a variety of water metaphors. Imagine, if you will, the rain gods up on Mount Olympus. Those mighty gods are the central bankers who print money and set interest rates. They decide how much rain, which is a stand-in for money, our fields need. But sometimes they inadvertently flood the fields a little bit too much, as happened with our housing bubble, when too much cheap money was available to subprime borrowers. Sometimes they starve the fields by keeping interest rates too high for too long. But most of the time, the central bank gods of the industrialized economies know exactly how much rain to produce. The problem lies further downstream. Pernicious dams and diversions in the irrigation ditches. Those farmer bankers diverting water for their own purposes rather than letting the water run further downstream towards the businesses and households that need it. That would be the banks investing in non-productive investments rather than lending to small businesses and consumers. We could carry this metaphor even further by talking about clean versus polluted water. There's something called Greshams Law, which says that bad money drives out good money. What about all of that dirty, now laundered, criminal money that's seeping into our financial system? That dirty water pollutes the entire water system. And then no one is willing to drink from it. If you knew that the bank was being run by criminals, which is the case for many Russian banks, or at least until recently, would you dare to put your money in that bank? No. And by keeping your money out of that bank, you are also starving the rest of the economic system. My third use of this water metaphor is to illustrate this circular flow model of the economy. And instead of having it right side up, we're going to have it sideways. Imagine, but you don't even have to look at it. Just look at me. Okay? And imagine the water circulating round and round like a river that just continuously circles round and round. And ideally, we want the water flow of that river to be just the right height. And there are two critical nodal points in that river. One is the households, okay, which includes consumers and workers. The other are businesses. The businesses create jobs, which allows the water to flow to the households. They then use that money from their wages to spend on goods and services that the businesses produce. And the water just goes round and round just like that. But oh, were it just that simple. What about those consumers that just love to save their money? Well, if they are putting that money under the mattress, that's not a good thing. Ideally, we want them to spend money on the goods and services that the businesses produce, but if they're going to save it, okay, but let's save it in a financial institution whose role is to convert those savings into loans that can be used for investments. When that link is broken or not functioning effectively, you have a problem. And water is leaking out of that river, and the flow of the river shrinks. Likewise, taxes take money out of the river because the money that you have to pay in taxes can't be spent on goods and services. But ideally, those taxes are recirculated back into the economy. The government spends that money on wages, goods, and services. But how are they spending that money on wages and goods and services? Are they building bridges to nowhere? Or are they repairing the rest of our infrastructure? All of that is going to affect the water flow in the river. So there you have it. Water as money. What could be more simple?